there, it's Laura from Laura Wamwell Photography, and joining me today is Alison McLaren and her wonderful pup, Dudley. And Alison, I am so excited to see you both.
Hi, it's nice to see you too.
So today's interview is all about getting to know a local pet and the person who loves that pet. So Dudley obviously is gorgeous.
Thank you.
How did he come to live with you?
So it's actually kind of a cool story. I have always loved miniature dachshunds, or have for quite a few years now, and always wanted a dog of my own. But I do work full time, and so I didn't think that it was something I could manage or something that I could do. I had been trying to adopt and looking into different rescues of maybe getting an older dog that didn't require quite as much attention or energy right off the bat. But it just wasn't in the cards. I was turned down by multiple rescues when I was looking, and got to a point where I was like, well, I can't get a rescue. I know I can't handle a puppy right now. I guess I'm just going to be without a dog. And I was on a Facebook group for adoption and rehoming animals in Ontario. And a lot of people would post dogs that they knew were looking for homes, or people would post what they were looking for. And there was one day where I was feeling particularly lonely, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to post that this is something I'm looking for. I said, I would love to get a miniature long-haired dachshund, and that my dream would be an English cream. I said, you know, they're fairly rare and they're very expensive, so I figured this would never happen. I said, any color is fine, any age is fine, not a puppy. And within about 5 minutes, I received a message from Dudley's breeder saying, you're not going to believe this, but my husband and I decided last night that we're putting this guy up we're going to rehome him. So the situation with Dud is that he was going to be a show dog because he is, you know, the dream perfect clear cream, but he grew to be too big. They have to be 12 pounds or less to be to show in the miniature category. And Dudley was already over 10 at 10 months old. So they said, okay, he's not going to be a good fit for our breeding program. He's not going to be able to show. So they decided that, as heartbreaking as it was, they needed to rehome him. And when they saw my message, they just felt like it was meant to be. And from the very first conversation we had, we sort of just knew. And I saw the picture of him, and immediately it was just, that's my dog. And so I took him when he was almost a year old. So he still had some issues to work through and some training that needed to be done, but it was manageable because I could hire a walker to have him, and he was already housebroken and crate trained. So he was able to be home during the day while I was at work. And it's sort of been great ever since, especially with being in lockdown.
Oh, wow. So it was just fate that this little guy happened to.
I think so, yes.
So what is your favorite thing about living with Dudley? What does he do to make you smile?
Oh my goodness. I would say he is probably the funniest little dog I've ever had or ever met. He's got a ton of personality. Last night he lost his toy and started spinning in circles, thinking maybe it was under his tail. He just always is doing the funniest little things and just keeps me on my toes. But he makes me laugh. And when you're living alone during a pandemic, that is probably the best thing you can ask for.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing so many folks who are bringing pets into their lives during this pandemic, and I think it's such a good time to be able to bond with your pet and you know, figure out what it would be like if you were sharing the space all the time.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're doing in particular to prepare Dudley for when you go back to work?
We're trying to get out and about a little bit more again. I found that during the pandemic, as many people have likely found, some of the training and the behaviors that we had worked on prior have sort of slipped away a little bit. One of the big things with him is because he came from somewhere out in the country where he wasn't exposed to much. When I first got him, he was afraid of everything. So he was afraid of sidewalks, he was afraid of bikes, he was afraid of cars, because it was also new to him. So we were dealing with a lot of reactivity. And we put a lot of work into that and going lots of places and getting to know lots of different people and environments. And with COVID, we haven't been able to do so much of that. So he's definitely regressed a little bit, but we're starting to get back into things. He's going to be doing, he does agility lessons with Brittany Holland. He's not, with 2-inch legs, he isn't necessarily what you would think of when you think of an agility dog, but we're not doing it. We're just doing it for fun, not to compete. And we're going to start doing some training with him as well. So working with a local dog trainer to get a little bit of the issue that we have, the issues that have resurfaced, nipping them in the bud before they get to be unmanageable.
So with Dudley being a Dachshund, are there any challenges that you found, whether just with him or with that breed in general?
If there's anything that you would have heard about Dachshunds that in terms of stereotypes, it's all true. They are stubborn, they are yappy, but they are full of personality and they're so much fun. So when he's at agility, he is by far the loudest in the crew. If he's excited, he barks. If he's upset, he barks. If he's stressed out, he barks. And agility is probably his favorite thing to do. So he is just happy barking the whole time. In terms of being stubborn, they can be difficult to train, but they're also exceptionally food motivated. So that makes it a little bit easy. I mean, aren't we all at this point? But he's a lot of fun, and just, you got to take the good with the bad. And I wouldn't even call those things bad things. It's part of who they are. So I got lucky with them.
Well, and every pet is going to come with their own set of challenges.
Yes.
So I know that Dudley has motivated you to actually set up a little bit of a community. So what can you tell me about your group?
So it's kind of a funny story, the way it's happened. I have gained so many new friends, met so many people in the community just since I got him. So there was one time, I guess it would have been a couple years ago now, that I discovered that there is a group in Toronto. They call them the Sausage Dog Mafia, which I think is hilarious and amazing. And they did Doxie meetups. So one of the things that's really interesting about the breed is that they do sometimes struggle with other dogs. And I don't know if part of it is they're so low to the ground, they're so small that other dogs can be intimidating. But in almost every situation I've been in, they get along well with each other. So I thought, you know what, let's give this a try. Every time I've ever had him, the reactivity is solely on leash. Every time I've had him interacting with other small dogs, he's been fantastic. So I thought, I'm going to go to one of these meetups and see how it goes. If we need to leave early, we need to leave early, but let's give it a try. Knowing that he'd come from a breeder, he's used to Dachshunds. So we went, and he had the absolute time of his life. And watching, 20 little wiener dogs run around together is just, I mean, if that doesn't bring joy, I don't know what does. So a while I had been talking to a couple different Doxie owners nearby, because there's a lot of them in our area. And we had decided that we wanted to do a little meetup of our own. And it was just a few people getting together with our dogs. And we had this, and we started talking about, well, what if we made this something bigger, like the Toronto group? Because it's a bit far to go to, go to Toronto meetups all the time, but we have so many of us here. So I started thinking about it and started a little Facebook group to get a sense of if anybody would be interested. And it's really exploded. We do monthly meetups when COVID is not stopping us, but we were doing them all the way up to November, except when we were in lockdown. And we have another one coming up in a couple weeks. I've just booked one for March. It's outdoors. So we have a limit of 25 people. We stay 6 feet apart. And they just have a blast. They just run around. We call ourselves, it's the Southwestern Ontario Doxies. There's Facebook and an Instagram group. Our biggest event was, we had a Halloweeny party, and there were close to 40 of them there. And this is all, Southwestern Ontario. So we're getting a few of the Toronto dogs, but mostly Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph, and out into the London region. So it's a really neat little community to be a part of. Again, not something I ever thought was going to take off quite this way, but they absolutely love it. And we haven't had any issues with any of the dogs. So it's a pretty cool little thing to be a part of.
Wow. So if an owner were to come to one of the meetups, what are they like? What do the pups do?
Honestly, it's essentially a private dog park. So we rent out a space. There's a local space called Heritage Pet and Garden in Ayr. It's a private dog park. So we rent out the yard so that we're the only ones that are in there. And if the dog has never been before, I just ask that the owner stay close by, but it is sort of a come at your own risk. There's waivers that they sign for the dog park, and they have to have all of their vaccines up to date and show proof of that. So everything is as safe as it possibly can be, but it's really just a structured dog park. So they come in, if the dog is a little uneasy, just stay close by, make sure that they're good to go. But we haven't had any dogs up until this point that have had issues. So it's been a really great little group to be a part of. And we've got a few new ones coming out next week, and most of them I know already. And yeah, I don't know. It's hilarious. We all talk about just how much fun it is to just watch them and see them play and see how they all interact with each other, because they have the exact same tendencies and the ways that they interact with each other, and the ways that they move and the way they play. It's all very similar. So there's definitely a lot to be said for, breed specific behaviors.
I have heard that from so many meetup groups that,
Mhm.
yeah, having dogs mix with other dogs of various breeds is great, but there's just something special that happens when it's all one breed getting together.
Yeah. It's pretty cool to watch. When I went to the first one in Toronto, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I had no idea it would be like that. So they're a lot of fun.
Nice. So Dudley has also motivated another adventure for you. I love these dogs getting us
all of these things I'm starting without ever intending to start them. It sort of seems to be a thing.
Perfect. So you have a small business called Ollie and Dud. What can you tell us about that?
So Ollie and Dud is just a little, well, it started out as a very small business making pet bandanas. So one thing that most people who know me know is that this little guy is probably as spoiled as they get. I spend a lot of money on Dudley, and I was spending too much money on Dudley, and that's really what it came down to. And I thought, okay, a bandana is literally a triangle. I can do this. So my mom had an old sewing machine that she never used. And I said, hey, Mom, do you think I could give it a try? I'd never sewn before. And my birthday was coming up, and my parents offered to buy me a sewing lesson as a gift. And I thought, okay, yeah, this sounds great. Let's give it a try. And so I went to the sewing lesson and learned how to make a pillowcase, which was, I can't say I've ever made another one, but it was great. And then from there, I started making just a couple little bandanas for Dudley, and they were, simple, cute. And then people started to see them. And as my collection grew, people started saying, well, can you make me one? And so I started making a few for friends here and there. And then it got to a point where I was getting messages on Instagram, on Dudley's Instagram account saying, hey, I heard that you make bandanas. Would you do this for me? And so it kind of turned into something that it was never planned to be. And now it's grown. I've started making custom dog coats, and I've learned how to make like bow ties and neckerchiefs and all sorts of different things. And, my most recent project this weekend, I was asked by one of our regular customers if I could make a bow for the dog out of she's getting married in a couple weeks, and a scrap of her wedding dress she dropped off, and I made a bow for the dog to carry the rings. And it's become something really special. And it's my favorite part is just seeing all the pictures when things are done and seeing how much joy it brings to other people. And yeah, it's definitely, it supports the Dudley habit. So when I do agility and things, that's all funded by the Ollie and Dud, and sort of all just spiraled and became a big part of my life. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun when I don't have my office on my kitchen table and I have a little bit more space, but we're making do.
So where did the name come from?
So Ollie is my parents' miniature dachshund, and then Dudley, obviously. So it was just it kind of just came to me. I was like, well, what do we call this? And it's obviously inspired by Dudley, and Ollie is my other little love. So Ollie and Dud just seemed like a perfect fit.
Perfect. So when you are making the dog apparel, is it all made to measure? Are you custom making everything?
I am. So I use snaps as opposed to tie-ons. So I need exact measurements when I'm doing it. I use snaps because I feel like that's the safest option. I do have some anxiety. I have anxiety disorder, and I get my anxiety comes out full force when it comes to Dud. I always think of worst case scenario. And so for me, one of the things that makes a good bandana is that it will come apart if it gets caught on something. Whereas if I have it tied on, that's not likely, you know, the more you pull it, the tighter it gets. So I thought snaps were a good way to make sure that it's safe, but it does mean that every single item I make has to be made to order because every dog's a little bit different. But I know as someone who has a dachshund, I like shorter bandanas. I don't want them to go as low because he can drag it on the ground if it's too small or too long. So it's nice to be able to customize things, and it's just a good creative outlet for me. You know, what I'm doing, there's lots of people out there doing it. So if what I have isn't what you like, there's a million other people doing it, and you can find something else that works for you. But I've met a lot of great people, and, you know, over Christmas alone, I made over 300 bandanas. So, and bow ties and different things for local people. And it's sort of just exploded, and it's a lot of fun.
Amazing. Have you found throughout the pandemic that folks are really wanting to support local, and because they're spending all their time with their pets, to spoil their pets a little bit?
Oh yeah. And I am guilty of that as well. I have definitely supported a lot of, lots of local, lots of small businesses. But I think people being home with their pets has really, at least I can speak for myself, like I'm buying special things for him because I love seeing him happy. He's getting different toys and treats that he might not have had before. Everybody is online shopping. I don't know about you, but you know, you'd think with all the stores closed, that would be a good thing. And then you realize, no, everybody just shops online when there's nothing else to do. But I think a lot of people are spending more time on social media. So if they're seeing it, they want it. And it's, you know, it's working out well for me because it's also something to do when you can't really go much of anywhere. So yeah, business has picked up in the pandemic. Let's just say that.
Are there any other local businesses that you would love to give some love to, whether it's a care provider or someone with another small business?
There's so many. I feel like everybody in the community now knows who I am, and I know who they are because I've scoped them out. When it comes to sort of where I'm a regular, so I would say there's two for dog food and treats. The Healthy Barker is a local shop that makes, they do raw and gently cooked meals for dogs. Dud was having some allergy issues last summer, so I reached out to see, okay, let's get some diet changes going here because they thought that it was the food initially. It ended up just being seasonal allergies, but he adores the food so much that we kept going with it. I use it as a topper a lot of the time. So we love the Healthy Barker, and Martina is the owner, and she's a certified canine nutritionist. So that's kind of cool too. Finnegan's Deli is another favorite. You can get a lot of dehydrated, fresh dog treats. Dudley adores his pizzles. Doxies can chew. He's destroyed 3 black Kongs. So he likes to chew, but thankfully nothing that he's not supposed to. So I love Finnegan's Deli. He is a occasional visitor at Dogtopia, which is a doggy daycare downtown Kitchener. I don't take him all the time, but when we were in lockdown and they were still open, it was an opportunity for him to still be socialized. And I love that I can watch on the webcams. They have a live stream all day, every day. So you can watch your dog while they're at daycare, and he has the time of his life there. So I really like the people there are fantastic. And they do a lot of giving back to the community as well through charity work. And I worked with them on a charity project with Ollie and Dud, where I gave them some bandanas and then the proceeds went to their charities. So I really, really like Dogtopia. I mean, I could go on. There are so many in Kitchener-Waterloo. I have to give a shout out to you and your photography as well. The best picture I have of Dudley is the fun one. We'll have to post it. Maybe you can share it in here, put it up on the screen of Dudley and I skating together. I'm a skater, and this was something we did as one of your Mutzter pieces. So that was great. But yeah, there's just so many. We live in, I don't know if every city is like this, but the Kitchener-Waterloo area is just like, the dog community here is absolutely insane, and in all the right ways.
I absolutely agree. I think we just have such a vibrant and thriving pet community here. You know, even as far as like pet friendly patios and beautiful green spaces, and we are spoiled for options in this part of town.
Absolutely.
Are there any favorite places that you and Dudley like to visit, as far as like, do you have favorite trails, or is there anywhere in particular that you love to go?
Well, there's a few. I am not much of a winter person. I don't like the cold weather. Dud adores it. He is a snow bunny. He will get right in there, despite the fact that he turns into a snowball. But in the summertime, he also goes against every Doxie stereotype, and he loves to swim. So one of our favorite spots is just outside of Guelph. There's I can't even remember what it's called, but a little area where there's a swimming hole, but it's running water, so it's very clean, but it's enclosed. So I don't know, it kind of feeds off into a different area, but the water is always moving, so it's clean. So we go there in the summertime, and it has hiking trails attached to it, and he loves to do that. We're big fans of Huron Natural Area as well. It's got beautiful trails, and I mean, really just anywhere we can go that he can come with me, we can get outside. St. Jacobs is always amazing. They actually have Spoil the Dog Bakery, which is another one of our favorites. Spoil the Dog Bakery actually went around to all of the businesses in St. Jacobs asking if they were dog friendly, or if they were willing to be dog friendly. And there are little signs in the windows of every store that you can bring your dog into. So we'll go down there and go into a few shops, and he's pretty good about behaving himself in the shops. So we go and do some shopping, grab a coffee. There's a dog-friendly cafes. There's the brewery downtown is also dog-friendly, the patios. So it's a pretty fun place to check out as well.
Awesome. I know you mentioned that before you started your Doxie group, you visited Toronto. Are there any things that maybe other municipalities have that you would like to see come to Southwestern Ontario?
One of the things that I would love to see, and I have been doing some research to figure out if it's something we have, and I haven't found it at this point. Some of the meetups that they do, so we had to stop our meetups once it got super, super cold. Oh, time to let him out. So we had to stop our meetups once things got cold, because you can only do so much in freezing cold weather. Toronto has a lot of indoor play spaces for dogs. We don't have that. I haven't been able to find really anything that would have capacity for, some of the dog daycares have small spaces, and Dogtopia said, once we're out of COVID, we could definitely talk about this, but the space isn't necessarily there. So I would love to see something that is a sheltered space where people could rent out, similar to the way that we rent out the outdoor space in Ayr. Pine Tree Pet Resort in Guelph has a fenced-in dog space you can rent. I would love to see some indoor spaces. I know that recently there's a farm nearby that was renting out sort of a riding arena, which I think would be awesome. Unfortunately, the price wasn't something that we could manage for a small. I try to keep our price really, really low for the meetups. And I'm a little concerned about the sand with their legs being so small, but something similar to that would be just awesome to have in town.
Perfect. As far as Dudley's particular breed, when you are getting together with those other owners, are you folks finding any similarities with like the challenges that you're having as owners together?
Oh yeah. Um, I mean, everything from dealing with reactivity and barking to how do you find a coat that actually fits a dachshund because they're a normal width, but they're extra long. We have a lot of the same challenges, and we've been able to share strategies and sort of come up with solutions. And something that works for somebody else might work for Dudley. Yeah, we've definitely found we have similar struggles, although every dog is different, and even between the short-haired versus the long-haired Doxies, there are differences. I mean, we have everything in that group. Like we've got a couple wired-haired wiener dogs, we've got a bunch of smooth coats, we've got almost every color. We actually just have we were saying at our last meetup, we need a dapple to complete the group. And we now have a dapple joining this next event. So we're really excited. But we've got every shape, color, size. We have standards, really tiny minis. Like it's really just, it's such a fun little setup. And I take lots of pictures. We actually had Kinsey Winger came out and did some photos for us at one of our last events. And the photos are just hysterical. I'll have to send you a few of them to share because they're just so funny to look at. It's one of those things that I feel like we could charge admission and have seating. Like it's just, the wiener dog races are one thing, but just watching them play is a whole other thing.
I think that's what's so amazing about pet ownership in general is how it brings people together.
Yeah.
Especially if we're, inclined to be shy or to not reach out. As soon as you put a pet in the mix,
changes everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And some of the people in our group are very shy, but slowly we're getting to know them a little bit better. And I find that, with so many people who have Instagram for their dogs, and I am one of those people, it's a good way to start connecting with people and, meeting friends and like his life and all the things he does. If we didn't have the social media element, I wouldn't know about most of it. So it's kind of cool that we live in a world where that's a possibility now.
So for folks who don't know about dog Instagram, it is just a whole rabbit hole.
I say it's the happiest place on the internet.
Right. Key question. When you're interacting on dog Instagram, are you interacting as yourself, Alison, or as Dudley?
On our actual posts, Dudley is speaking. But anytime I'm talking to somebody, it's all like messaging, it's me. That would just be really weird, I think. But I mean, no shame. If that's what people do, I'm not judging.
Well, and it's just an incredible way to meet not only people from all over the world, but there are a ton of local people that you meet through dog Instagram as well.
Absolutely. I started Dudley's Instagram when I got him because I knew that I had friends who probably weren't going to want to see pictures of him all the time. I thought, I'll just, for the friends who don't want to see it, they can not follow. And the ones who do, they can follow. I never thought it was going to be like his account has a lot of followers and I've made a lot of friends, and I never intended for it to be that. It was just, I like taking pictures of him. I think he's really cute. So I'm going to share those pictures, and it's just become a whole different world.
Awesome. So I would love to end off with some quick fire questions for you and Dudley. All right. So, cat or dog?
Dog.
Favorite breed?
Dachshund.
What is Dudley's favorite treat?
He's on a carrot kick right now.
Really?
Yeah. My parents give Ollie a carrot every single night, like a big one, as a chew. And it has significantly improved his teeth, and he adores it. So Dad's on a carrot kick. Nice. We even cut up carrots. People were laughing at Agility last week because I was using carrots as his treats. So it's healthy. Might as well just go with it.
Is Dudley full of beans, full of dreams, or full of something entirely different?
Depends when you get him. He's the most cuddly dog in the world, but he is also the most energetic, just wild thing you'll ever meet.
If a human actor were to play Dudley in a movie, who would play him?
Okay, so this is funny, only because a friend of mine because Dudley is so big for a dachshund and he's like solid muscle. A friend of mine always says that he's the John Cena of wiener dogs. So I guess we'll go with that.
That is perfect. If money were no object, what one incredible thing would you do to spoil your pet?
I would love to travel somewhere. I mean, and maybe this is influenced by the fact that we can't right now, but I got him in was May of 2019. So I had him for a year before we went, not even a year before we went into COVID lockdowns. So we haven't been able to travel much. We haven't been able to go anywhere or do anything. I would love to actually do that with him. Out of Ontario, potentially, whether it's a road trip or a flight, I would love to go and just do some different things.
Perfect. And if Dudley could say one thing to the people of Southwestern Ontario, what would Dudley say?
That is a good question. If you are a person who has a wiener dog, he would say, come play with me. If you do not, he would probably say, give me space and let me come to you when I'm ready, because he struggles with new people. But I think he would probably just say, spoil your dogs and lots of treats. Treats are always good.
Awesome. So if you, the human, Alison, if there was a way that people could best support, whether it's Dachshunds as a breed or best support you and Ollie and Dud, what would you love for this community to do to support you?
I think for me, I mean, obviously, if you're interested in shopping with Ollie and Dud, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook. But when it comes to Doxies as a breed, I'd say the biggest thing is if you're going to get one, do your research, make sure you're buying from a reputable breeder or rescuing. Doxies have a lot of health issues, and if you don't know what you're getting into, you have to, there's a lot of preventative maintenance that goes into them. So I would say for Doxies in general, just if you're going to get one, do right by them and make sure that you do the research, you buy from someone who knows what they're doing, has done all the genetic and health testing, or support something like the Canadian Dachshund Rescue. I make donations to the Doxie rescues. There's a couple other rescues that focus on little dogs like dachshunds. I do fundraisers for them, and I would say just do what you can to, and whether it's dachshunds or any breed, just make sure you do the right things for your dog and know what you're getting into.
That is wonderful advice. I love that. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Alison.
It was nice to see you again.
You too. And thank you to Dudley for waking up a little bit.
Passed out on my lap. This is what he does during Zoom calls all day, every day. There you go.
It was such a blast to see you both, and I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us. So I'd love to thank all of you for listening. This is Laura from Laura Walmall Photography. I am here with Alison McLaren and the lovely and talented Dudley. And we hope that you and your pets have an awesome day. Bye.